Several years ago, an expat called me. Well, actually, he messaged me, and then we ended up speaking on video chat. And we spoke for about an hour, at least 4 or 5 times. So this went on for about a month, maybe 5 weeks. And the reason he contacted me was because he had a dilemma. And I wanted to share his story with you. Again, his identity is not important. But I wanted to share his story with you because I'm a firm believer that it's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better if you can learn from someone else's mistakes. Now, this guy made several mistakes, and the reason he knew it. At the end, he knew it, that he had blown it, but he contacted me for a way to get out of it. So what he had done was he had been widowed prior to coming to the Philippines, had been married to one woman most of his life, I believe for well over 25 years. And once he was widowed, he started thinking about what to do with his life, found himself in the Philippines. Next thing you know, he's got an apartment out there in Manila. So in my mind, first mistake was, if you're going to move to a tropical country, why would you move to the deep inner city like Manila? If you're going to move to a tropical country, at least be where there's some trees or some hills or some beaches. Anyways, so he gets himself set up in Manila and has an apartment, and money is not a problem for him. He can afford a nice apartment. And he decides to start getting involved with the nightlife there. And it's a whole new experience for him, going to the girly bars. And all of a sudden, all these young Filipinas are paying attention to him. And so he's running amok, doing the usual stage 1 life of an expat. So then, again, all this is prior to him contacting me. So then he ends up meeting this one Filipina, and he starts thinking to himself creatively, well, why should I keep paying this woman to come to my place? Why not just move her in full time? And then it'll be so convenient. And he's not the only guy that has thought this way. I've talked to, since 2012, so many expats who had the same line of reasoning. Why not make it more convenient for me? I'll just move this Filipina in. And it may not necessarily be a bar girl. It might just be somebody they met on a dating site and things went good for 2 weeks. So they thought to themselves, well, why not just have her available 24/7 by moving her in? So that's what this guy did. Now, she, being somewhat savvy to the situation, she thought to herself, well, if I'm going to be moving in with this guy, I'm going to be losing income that I could have been making in, her other available time. So she countered before moving in and said, well, I need money. I can't just move in with you and enjoy free room and board. I've got expenses, I've got this going, that going, so how much are you going to pay me to move in with you? So he thinks about it and said, and again, this is all what he relayed to me. So he said he thought about it and said to her, well, tell you what, I'll hire you as my maid, my live-in maid, but that includes plenty of intimacy, so you understand that, right? And she countered with, well, how much are you going to pay me? I forget how much they agreed upon. But they came to a meeting of the minds. She would move in with him. She would be his maid. She would continue with her sexual encounters with him. And he would pay her a set amount of money per month. Now, I don't know if you remember, if you've ever seen the episode on Seinfeld where he hires a maid and has this same kind of situation, and next thing you know, the house is not getting cleaned. And he starts wondering, well, what exactly am I paying for? Oh my gosh, I'm paying for the sex. So this turned into that kind of situation. And pretty soon, by the time he contacted me, he said, well, she does cook and she kind of sort of does some cleaning, but for the most part, she lays around and really doesn't do much as a maid. He said, I feel like what I have on hand is a very lazy girlfriend. So he's asking me, well, how can I still see other women while having her living here? He said, because my understanding was that she would be here full time and that I could just go and say, I'll be back in a couple hours. And he did. He would leave the house, go to the same girly bars that he went to before. Only now he can't really bring that girl back to his apartment because he's got this quote unquote maid there at his place. So now he's actually paying the maid full time, plus he's paying the other girl, and he has to rent another hotel because he can't use his own place. So what he found was that this really was not financially expedient or efficient for him at all. Again, he could afford the money, but he took a big step backwards. This was costing him more, and he was feeling inconvenienced from his own apartment. So with a little bit of time, eventually the maid caught on to the fact that he was taking these other girls to another hotel. And on a side note, I've said before, they always find out. The way the maid found out is that she had made friends with the next door neighbor. Well, the next door neighbor had a roommate who worked at the same girly bar that he was going to, and was keeping the maid informed of all his going-ons there at the girly bar. So it's that whole seven shades of separation or whatever they call it, but just expect, in the Philippines, you're going to get caught. Somebody knows somebody who's going to rat you out. So by the time he contacts me, he says, well, I can't bring girls home like I used to. This woman is acting like she's my girlfriend, getting all jealous and angry and starting arguments, and she's not my girlfriend. She's my maid plus. So how do I fix this? And I told him, well, number one, this was a bad idea from the beginning. You don't go screwing the help. That's number one. He's like, yeah, I kind of figured that out at this point. So now that we got that established, I said, what you need to do is reclaim your domain. You need, your home is your castle. That is, well, I call it my bat cave. Some call it the, whatever, solitude of solace. I don't forget what Superman called it. Sanctuary of solitude, something like that. So I told him, you need to reclaim your domain, reclaim your castle. You need to get control of that again. And the way you're going to do that is by getting rid of this maid. I said, now you got two options. The one is to simply pay her a severance package, get her out the door, and hope that there's no follow-up drama, because now she knows where you live and she knows where you hang out. I said, now the other option would be that you, again, move her out and then relocate to another apartment. It can be still in Manila if you love Manila so much, but just relocate so that she can't bother you. Well, he had a lease going, and he decided to give her the severance package and move the maid out. So out she went. The problem and the reason why he continued to call me for assistance was because now that he had moved her out and given her some severance money, which lasted her maybe 2 months, now she was pestering him, saying, well, I haven't really gotten back to work at the bar, and I need money. And him feeling guilty or whatever, or just wanting her to be quiet and go away, had gotten in the habit of giving her money. About every 2 weeks, he would give her money and ask her to go away, and this is the last time. But now it became a dependency. And those of you who have studied the psychology behind giving understand that it's much appreciated the first time. And then it's kind of expected like by the third time. And it's almost considered a right by the time you've done it 5, 6 times. These people feel like, well, hey, you made me dependent on you. Now you owe it to me to do this. So in the end, he did end up relocating, but all of this could have been avoided had he not bought into the bad idea that so many other expats have fallen for, thinking, oh, it'll be so much more convenient to just move her in. I won't even have to take her to the movies or anything so much. She'll be right here and it'll just be, plenty of romping anytime they want. They think that's as far as they thought. They never thought the fact that the second you move in a woman into your place, whether it's as a maid plus, as a girlfriend, as a fiancé, it doesn't matter. In all those situations, the Filipina who is living under your roof is going to expect you to only be with her. So before you start getting creative and thinking, oh, well, we're going to have this understanding, don't do it. I'm telling you, do not do it. Just stick to the plan. Let them stay at their own boarding house or parents' house or wherever they live. Let them live under their own roof. And when you feel like it, give them a call and take them out or bring them to your house. But keep it all separate and distinct. Maintain your domain. That should be the mantra that you keep at the forefront of your mind when you're a single guy in the Philippines or anywhere else, really. Maintain your domain. Do not give it up.